Listen to part of a talk in an ecology class.
The United States Army Corps of Engineers and the Environmental Protection Agency define wetlands as those areas that are flooded by surface or groundwater. Under normal circumstances, these areas support a wide variety of vegetation, typically adapted for life in saturated soil conditions. Wetlands generally include swamps, marshes, bogs, and similar areas. Wetlands are considered ecotones, which are transitional zones between two ecosystems that have characteristics of both ecosystems. So they have characteristics of both terrestrial and aquatic environments. Wetlands are among the most productive ecosystems on the planet, exhibiting an incredible degree of biodiversity in plant and animal life. Depending on the type of wetland, the soil may be saturated with water to a greater or lesser degree. Because the soil is hydric and often contains little or no oxygen, wetland plants known as hydrophytes have adapted to the low oxygen soil conditions that would kill off many other plants. Wetlands are often sanctuaries for fish, game, birds, and other wildlife.
Professor, isn't it true that wetlands have other important functions for the environment?
Yes, many wetlands have something called assimilative capacity. This means that wetlands can serve as natural filters for nutrients, organic matter, and pollutants by retaining, processing, or transforming these substances. It is this ability that has caused people to use our wetlands as a sort of natural water treatment facility to treat wastewater and improve water quality. Wetlands can also preserve groundwater and protect the areas that lie more inland from extreme weather events, such as storms and floods, and from the action of the tides. In the 17th century, over 220 million acres of wetlands were believed to have existed in the contiguous United States. Currently, less than half that figure remains. The rate of loss has decreased since the mid-1970s, but we still lost more than 1 million acres of wetlands each year from 1985 to 1995.
Professor, what's responsible for the destruction of the wetlands?
Until recently, people did not understand the value of our wetlands. Wetlands were considered a waste of space, and people would drain them, build dams and dikes around them, or fill them for development. Wetlands are also lost through other activities, water diversion projects, mining, farming, and logging. In addition to continuing threats from development and agriculture, our wetlands face threats from pollution and chemical contamination and global climate change.
But I thought public awareness about the importance of protecting our wetlands was growing.
Yes, there have been many public education and outreach programs about the value of wetlands as a natural resource. Moreover, federal, state, and local legislations, like the Clean Water Act of 1972, have been passed to protect and manage our wetlands. Wetland restoration efforts try to return the wetland area to its former state and include such practices as re-establishing native vegetation. But scientists are skeptical whether restoration is even possible or how to measure the success of restoration efforts. Both scientists and economists agree that it is cheaper to preserve wetlands than to attempt to restore them. Some biologists argue that because damaged wetlands cannot be returned to their former states, developers should not be allowed to destroy wetlands in exchange for the promise or requirement to rehabilitate a second wetland site. To add further insult to injury, a 2001 National Academy of Sciences study found that when developers were given the option to create new wetlands to replace ones they had filled in the course of development, they did not always keep their promises. Moreover, any wetlands that they actually created were of inferior value, both to the ecosystem and to human beings. The study recommended that any wetlands created by the developers be required to replicate the functions of the lost wetlands. However, the loss and degradation of our wetlands have already led to an increase in flood and drought damage, and a decline in native bird populations and other species.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
12. What does the professor say about the wetlands? 13. According to the professor, what is assimilative capacity? (14)
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
Until recently, people did not understand the value of our wetlands. Wetlands were considered a waste of space, and people would drain them, build dams and dikes around them, or fill them for development.
Why does the professor say this?
Until recently, people did not understand the value of our wetlands.
(15) According to the professor, what are the reasons for the disappearance of wetlands? (16) Indicate whether the statements below describe the attempts made to prevent further loss of wetlands. (17) According to the professor, what do the scientists and economists think about wetland restoration efforts?